Oh, what a good take. Good evening, nerd. Good evening, nerds. It's time for Boogaloo. It's Boogaloo time. Happy Sunday. Hope that everyone is doing based and having a good time. Very cool. Very awesome. Remember, only you can stop surveillance. And you can stop the feds from violating our privacies. So that is the point. We're going to go back. We're going to continue in our deep dive why Linux is relatively maybe insecure compared to other operating systems. How to build a slightly more based and secure operating system with Linux, Alpine Linux. Maybe we could look at GNU/Linux, maybe free-based BSD, even though we were reading that FreeBSD is maybe insecure. And maybe that's why people say I use FreeBSD, by the way. Arch, obviously, super based. Okay. So it seems like if you want a secure Linux operating system, a firewall may be used to secure connections to your system. Red Hat distributions such as Fedora and OpenSUSE typically use firewalled. Red Hat maintains extensive documentation about firewall and its graphical front end firewall config. Distributions based on Debian or Ubuntu typically use the uncomplicated firewall, which is UFW. As the name suggests, it's much less sophisticated than a firewall. One notable missing feature is the ability to apply different firewall rules for different connections. See zones in firewall. You could set your default firewall zone to drop packets to implement this firewall necessarily. On some distributions, it may be possible for applications running as wheel or sudo users to make firewall changes through Polkit. To prevent this, enable firewalled lockdown mode with sudo firewall command lockdown on. These firewalls use the NetFilter framework and therefore cannot, without the help of strict mandatory access control, protect against malicious software running privileged on the system, which can insert their own routing rules and sidestep the firewall rules. Obviously, very extreme forms of hacking, but kind of cool. There are some pre-buried outbound firewalls such as OpenSnitch and Portmaster that you can use as well. But just like firewall and UFW, they are bypassable. If you're using Flatpak packages, you can set an override to block network access. This is not bypassable. An override to block network access. Interesting. If you are using non-classic snap packages on systems that support proper confinement, both AppArmor and cgroups v1 present. You can use the snap store to revoke network permission. This is also not bypassable. Based kernel hardening. There are several things you can do to harden the Linux kernel, including setting appropriate kernel parameters and blacklisting unnecessary kernel modules. If you're using Kicksecure or Unix, most of the hardening is included by default. If you're using Debian, you should consider morphing into Kicksecure. This section extensively referenced Median's Linux hardening guide in the interest of brevity, but does not repeat all the information contained there. You are strongly encouraged to read through the relevant section of the guide. Links confirmed. Further reading: system D, random seeds, Madrian, RRAND, Linux kernel mailing list, Hacker News discussion, NixOS discussion. I mean, NixOS hater. I think NixOS sucks. Direct memory access attacks can be mitigated with via IOMMU, and disabling certain kernel modules. Furthermore, strict enforcement of IOMMU TLB invalidation should be applied, so devices will never be able to access the same data contents. These parameters do not provide comprehensive DMA protection. In early boot before kernel has loaded, only system firmware can enforce IOMMU and thus provide DMA protection. A DMA attack in early boot can patch the kernel in memory and completely undermine these parameters. Note that disabling the bus master bit on all PCI bridges during a very early boot can cause complete boot failure on certain systems with inadequate resources. Therefore, it's always to ensure to have a fallback option to boot into the system whenever modifying any kernel parameters. Okay. Let's see. IOMMU groups inside and out. Oh, we can look at that. Avoiding gaps in IOMMU protection at boot. Median DMA tags. GR security. Hardened memory allocator. The hardened memory allocator, hardened malloc, from Graphene OS can be used on general Linux distributions through only some for some programs. Wow, based. We'll have to look at that. That's kind of cool. This is definitely going to be the learning channel, as I would say. Divested Computer Group has similar build for Fedora with x86 support. Using Secure Boot's repository is recommended as the divest report is known to block certain IP addresses. On Arch-based systems, hardened malloc is available through the R. Disabling XWayland. To disable XWayland with GNOME, create. Mounting hardpoints. Okay. We're going to first get... I would say the best would be to get probably Alpine set up, and then we can look at some good options to make it more secure and more sexy. And less bloated, because that's what it's all about. Oh, yeah, I should probably... Built-in support for Zen Hypervisor includes packages targeted at Zen usage used for Zen Down Zero. I wonder if that's possible. Damn. Gay. Whatever. Okay. So I should be able to use standard. Oh. Most common used packages included sustainable for routers and servers, runs from RAM, includes AMD and Intel microcode updates. Based. Ooh, let's go in there. Nope. Oopies. It's kind of dumb. That's all right. Open based. There we go. Open Linux, forward. Let's give it 8 CPUs, 6 RAM. Huh. Motherfucker says no bootable disk. Wasn't it something? I think it was something that makes it not work. Huh, I wonder why it says no bootable media. too much resources. Huh. That's interesting. I forgot what I had to do. I think it was like older. Three point three, 3.2. The fuck? Oh. 2016. Maybe if I go to virtual. Maybe if I do virtual, it'll work. We'll just delete that. Let's try a new one. Cool, while that's downloading, we'll look at more kernel hardening. There are several things you can do to harden the Linux kernel, including settings appropriate parameters. Okay. Consider adding mount options, no dev, no execute, and no SUID to mount points which do not need respective capabilities. Typically, these can be applied to boot, boot EFI, and var. These flags could also be applied at home and root. However, no execute will prevent applications that require binary execution in those locations from working, including flatpaks and snaps. It should be noted that no X is not foolproof and actually quite easy to bypass. If you use Toolbox, do not set any of these mount point options on var log journal. From my testing, the Toolbox container will fail to start if you have no dev and no suid or no execute on said directory. If you're on Arch Linux, you probably do not want to set no X on var temp, as some R packages will then fail to build. Disabling SUID. SUID allows users to execute an application as the owner of the application, which in many cases is the root user. Vulnerable SUID executables could lead to privilege escalation vulnerabilities. It is desirable to remove SUID from as many binaries as possible. However, this takes sustainable effort and trial and error on the user's part, and some applications require SUID to function. Kicksecure, by extension Whonix, has an experimental permission hardening service and application whitelist to automate suited removal from binaries and libraries on the system. From testing, these work perfectly fine on minimal kick secure installations and both Cube's Unix workstations and Cube's Unix gateway. Well, based. Most Linux distributions do not enable DNSSEC by default. I recommend that you enable it to make sure that the responses to your DNS queries are authentic. You will need a DNS provider that supports DNSSEC. Ideally, you should be using a VPN which provides this feature with DNS servers so that you can just blend it with other people. On systems with systemd resolve, you can either edit the etc systemd resolve config file and add DNSSEC yes and enable it to run systemcal restart systemd resolve after you've done editing to apply configuration. If you're using Unix or Tails, you can disregard setting up DNSSEC as Tor's DNS resolution does not support it. Alternatively, you can use a non-Tor resolver, though it's not recommended to do this for an extensive amount of time. Which sounds like, yeah, it would be a bad idea. Guys, you need to run your own NTP server. This is what the based time guides have told us to. Most Linux distributions by default use the unencrypted, unauthenticated network time protocol for time synchronization. There are two ways to easily solve this problem. Configure network time security NTS with cronerd. Use KickSecure's SDW date on Debian-based distributions. If you decide using NTS with cronerd, consider using multiple independent time providers and setting many sources to a value greater than 1. Graphene OS uses a quite nice cronny configuration for their infrastructure. I recommend that you replicate their cronifig on your system. Next, enable the seccomp filter with cronerd. On Fedora and Arch Linux, you will need to edit cronny's environment in the etc sysconfig cronerd. Command line options for cronerd, option FTAC1. F1, 1 for respect, F for respect as well. Based. On Ubuntu, Debian environments, S default cronny, the seccomp filter should already be enabled by default. All right, that is downloaded. Maybe it'll work this time. Is that it? Yeah. Huh. Let's try an old. I think that was the problem. We had problems with. Which one did I download? 3233? 322. Okay. Okay. Standard. Okay, that's what I need to look for. Oh, there we go. Maybe I have to go back farther. I don't know. We'll find out. It's quite an interesting Linux distro. If not, I could look at FreeBSD. I think FreeBSD runs in virtual machine finally. I think they have an option for it. Yeah, Alpine Linux has been... And the crazy thing is, no matter what I've done, Boxes just doesn't work. Because I've tried it. Yeah, it just crashes. No matter what I do. Uninstalled it, reinstalled it. So it's going to take 3 minutes. Pluggable authentication modules, PAM. PAM settings can be hardened to improve authentication security, though keep in mind the bypassable nature of PAM as opposed to encryption. On Red Hat distributions, you should use auth select to configure this. On systems where PAM faillock is not available, consider using PAM Tally2 instead. If you have a YubiKey or another U2F FIDO2 authenticator, you can use PAM U2F to implement two-factor authentication for login. Make sure to use a hard-coded origin or AP app ID as indicated with the Arch Wiki. Do not use the default identifier PAM hostname, which will break if your hostname changes. Yeah, I've learned that before. Storage media handling. Some Linux distributions and desktop environments automatically mount arbitrary file systems upon storage media intersection. Insertion, and this is a security risk, as its adversaries can attach a malicious storage device on your computer to exploit vulnerable file systems. JSTS Code Sandbox, Bun Runtime in fully isolated Podman. This behavior is disabled by default on Unix. GNOME users with systems on UDIS can mitigate the risk by running the following commands. False, okay, echo. This will disable auto mounting and prevent users from overriding their settings without privileges. Cinnamon users can use the same configuration commands except with Cinnamon. What up, Billy? Better late than never, right? Substitute in the place of GNOME. Other desktop environments based on GNOME 3 will likely follow similar patterns and use GS settings to investigate. AutoFS on older systems where AutoFS is used, you should match the AutoFS service to disable this behavior. USB port protection to better protect your USB ports from attacks such as bad USB. The infamous Hack5 USB rubber ducky. I recommend USB Guard. Documentation is available on USB Guard's website and Arch Wiki. If you are using Linux hardened, you can alternately use the deny new USB kernel parameter. See preventing USB attacks with Linux hardening. Secure view. Okay. I forgot about USB Guard. For secure desktop, we want the simplest possible code base. Open-based isn't made for desktop, so we can't use that. We're going with Alpine. It's not seeing any bootable media in VirtualBox, which is a little confusing. So I'm trying a different one to see if it works this time. Like an older, I think what happened last time is I had to use an older version for some reason. E322, there we go. We can use OpenBase base, however, it will not be the best option. True. We will use Alpine Linux. I want to know why it's not seeing any bootable media. Yeah. I wonder what is the option with the issue with Alpine. I gotta be doing something wrong. You can get the virtual machine optimized ISO if it's only going to be for VMs. Do you have a not corrupted ISO? I don't know what the issue is. I've downloaded three different ISOs, and none of them boot. Maybe it's a function that I'm not doing. It's very strange. Yeah, I've downloaded the latest. I've downloaded the non-latest, and nothing shows. The second supported is to use QEMU in user mode emulation, where QEMU can launch process compiled for one CPU and another. This is the model CPU is always emulating QEMU. Okay. Huh. I'm wondering if it's like the ISO I downloaded, or but it looks like it's like completed, or you know what I mean. Are you trying to use UEFI? No, I don't think so. We'll do like watch. Oh, maybe it's the chipset. Should I use UEFI? You're using an ARM ISO. Are you using? Oh, wait. That's an ARM ISO. Am I retard? Am I that retarded? That's awesome. I'm sitting here like I've downloaded so many. That's funny. Um. Oh no, I'm using Arch 64. It's not. It's not. You know what? I'll even get the x86. Fuck it. Oh, I'm retarded. I'm retarded. God damn. No wonder it fucking doesn't work. Well, I got the x86 AMD 64 is what you're looking for. That's what it was. See, my dyslexia kicked in, and it was like, hey, how would you like to quit being a bitch? Let's do risk 5, guys. I'm out here pee pee pooping instead of poo poo pee peeing. Why wouldn't they put the goddamn there uh why wouldn't they put the goddamn there x86 as the top one? This supposed to be America. We don't want no our goddamn there our behavior. What the fuck? I just logged in. Did Fed 12 show us his real voice? Yeah. You know how Larry the Cable Guy? Do you know how Larry the Cable Guy like has his like his accent isn't real? I've just been faking this one. Peak OPSEC. Really. Man, I really need to get fiber in this bitch. All right, done. Beautiful. Sometimes we be a little retarded out here. This isn't even an accent. This is just me making fun of people, I guess, from the South without being able to do it. Do 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 do. See, what you need to do, Jay, is you got fiber, yeah, because you live in fucking California. No shit. California is lucky. There's an ITP username, Badman ITP, that hosts an ITP in Onion Monero node. Based. You should still run your own. California is like got homeless people and crack, but you got fiber. All right, there we go. Hell yeah, baby. So let me go to that goddamn there documentation. Logged in as root, no password, and run. Okay. We're gonna do setup. Oh, fine. Okay. Key map. What, US? Hell yeah. Ooh. Set keyboard layout, none US. Select variant, US, I guess. Caching service, enter system hostname, fully qualified for me. Foo example, localhost. Big balls dot local host. Enter. Which one do you want to initialize or question or done? ETH 0, right? IP address for ETH 0 or DHCP none. DHCP, right? Do you want any manual networking? No. Nmap. Nmap. What would I need Nmap for? Change password. Password. Okay. We're in Africa. Every minute that passes Africa, 60 seconds pass in Africa. I guess we'll do. None. APK mirror. Find and use the fastest mirror. You said Nmap? Oh, or it is. It sounded like it. Mirror, 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 mirror on the wall. Nmap's illegal because it's for hackers. We get server return arrow, HTTP forbidden. Very whimsical and based. TurboNet. I would say that bad address California has. TurboNet? Is that what it's called? You can set up your own mirror too. Fiber, crackheads, homeless. Yeah. It's like we have crackheads, guys. Well, I mean, I think all drugs should be legal. Marijuana should have been legal a long time ago. I mean, alcohol is legal. There are other things that are worse that are legal. Just legalize all the drugs, man. Let people do meth. It's not my business. I mean, I think people should be sober and get sober and do good, not do crack in the middle. Uh, in the middle of the street, but whatevs. Cat meme funny. Midnight BSD has updated their license to specifically forbid usage in additional regions impacted by the new air certification operating system laws: Brazil, California, Colorado, New York, and Illinois. Residents' use of any country, state, territory that require age verification operating system are not authorized to use Midnight BSD. The list currently includes Brazil. We urge users to write their respective. That's funny. Guys, it's illegal to use Midnight BSD. If you are in this place. Oh, set up user. Set up user. Enter lowercase login name. Let's do yes. Balls. Which SSH server? OpenSSH, drop bear or none? Open based. Yes. Enter SSH key or URL. Disk install. Which disk would you like to use? VDA. The following disk is selected. How would you like to use it? Sys, data, crypt, LVM, or let's see what the documentation says. Okay. System disk mode. System disk mode is a traditional or classic hardware installation of Alpine Linux. The installation mode is suitable for most use cases, including generic desktop development. Jeez. If the entire hard disk is available for Alpine Linux, setup-based install is the recommended way to install Alpine Linux. For all users, use the setup disk. Setup Alpine. Disk without further questions. Once installation is complete, you can skip the next step of reboot. Custom installation on a headless host. Kernels. How to make a custom ISO image with make image. Installation media with its own configuration. Directory rebooting. Oh, nice. MK image. I too can distribute this. Pay attention close to disk name and size if you enter the next step. Manual partitioning of the hard disk may be needed to provide hard disk sys mode. Install using setup disk and script and storing config file using LBU commit and packages cache for disk lists and a var mount for data disk mode installs. Refer setting up disk manually page. If system disk mode installation was performed, ignore this and proceed to reboot. Would you like to use sys data? Enter which disk would you like to use? Question or none. Enter where the stored configured media, none. The location of the package cache, none. Base configuration is complete with the above steps. Refer to the alter course of setup Alpine system disk install. If sys is chosen, the setup Alpine script will complete the traditional hard disk installation Linux on the chosen disk without further question. Once installed, the installation is complete. You can skip the next step and proceed to reboot the system. Oh, so I can do sys. Based. Custom partition, manual partitioning of the hard disk may be needed for the hard disk for sys mode, installing setup disk script and storing configs. Warning, erase the above disk. Continue. Yes. Based. I wonder if crypt is what it is. Cool. I can add pictures of anime girls to make it based Alpine, based anime waifu Alpine, as it should be. Well, while that installs, I must grab one beer. Okay. There we go. Installation complete. Please reboot. Big balls. Oh. Did I make the user balls? Damn it. Oh, the irony. Motherfucker. I don't I don't remember which user it caught. Alright, let's do, because I can't remember. Let's do this. There we go. Remember your login stuff, guys. Don't be retarded like me. Okay, we're gonna do US. Do localhost. Which one do you want to initialize? Oh, enter. O DHCP. Nope. Okay. There we go. Based. Okay. No such patches. What the? Uh-oh. So we're gonna do the first one. Or is it like random? Damn. before. Let's speed run this bitch. Home.local. All right. Cool. We'll just let that run until it finds the fastest mirror. Okay, once it picks a mirror, then we're good. Sub user. Okay. Balls. Open SSH. Should be good. All right, cool. Well, that does that. We're going to look at more desktop Linux hardening. Please note that this enrolling your own keys. Please note that this procedure will break some non-compliant UEFI implementations. You should research your specific computer motherboard, looking for reported success and failure alike before attempting. Ideally, you should be prepared to reprogram the EEPROM to know a good state to a known good state if something goes catastrophically wrong. Integrated BIOS flashback functionally may be adequate recovery option. To eliminate the need to trust the OEM's keys, I recommend using SBCTL. First, you need to boot into your firmware interface and enter the secure boot setup mode. Then back into Linux and follow the instructions to generate and enroll your own keys. On certain hardware, this will not work. Instead, you will need to export the public key to your UEFI partition and manually import it through your firmware interface. OpenSSL X509. 509. I think I did this one time, and it fucked up, and I had to fix it. Okay. Hardware drivers. Balls. This is my problem, I think. Yeah, that shit happens. There we go. The Alpine Wiki will contain a large amount of how-to guides and general information. You can set up the system with a command like setup Alpine. You may change this message edited by. Okay. So now that we got the install, reboot, completing the installation. Linux system disk mode, internet connectivity, install appropriate graphics drivers, a non-root user account with appropriate groups. Okay. Install and enable dbus. Without dbus, icon keys and keyboard shortcuts may be missing. If you have a fingerprint sensor, install CPU microcode to updates to mitigate processor design bugs. Upgrade your OS. Oh wow. Set up sound server to manage Your audio and configure Bluetooth if you have one. Once above prerequisites are installed in window managers. Let's see for based. Ooh, Budgie. But we're going for OpenBox. Okay. APK. Huh. Xterm is needed. Install appropriate graphic drivers for your hardware. Without graphic drivers, errors are likely to occur when starting your desktop. So we could do a desktop. What the fuck is Lormy? Yeah, I don't like that. Oh, okay, I can just do setup. Let's go, okay. XQT, LXQT. Wait, no, we have to know. Once you have Alpine, and we need Alpine. We need Wayland. We're trying to make it secure. Multiple compositor implementations, excluding Sway, Mutter, GNOME compositor, KWin, KDE compositor, and the following compositors are available. Let's go with GNOME, I guess. GNOME. So so you're hacking Iran with your second computer and making videos be your alibi? Of course. Why not both? I don't know if your profile picture is Hulk Hogan or something from Clash of Clans. To be honest, they look the same. If you need ICU, hacking Iran is legal only if you don't touch American money, of course. Look, guys, only we can commit international war crimes with the taxpayer dollars. Damn. I forgot GNOME and Plasma take forever. They're bloat. Rolling our keys, unified kernel image on most desktop. So we're going to go back to, well, that takes time. On most desktop Linux systems, it is possible to create a unified kernel image, a UKI, that contains the kernel in it remfs, interferams, words, and microcode. The unified kernel image then can be signed with keys created by SB control. For Fedora Workstation, you can follow the Howard Mullins guide, which covers SBCTL installation, unified kernel image generation with drawcut, and automatic signing with system boot. On Arch, the process is very similar, though SBCTL is already included in the official repositories, and you will need to switch from MK init CPIO to DragCut. Arch with Linux hardened works well with SBCTL, but some of the level of tedious Pacman hooks are required for appropriate timing, the re-signing of all relevant files, every time the kernel or the bootloader is updated. Afterwards, you need to use system crypto enroll and pin your encryption key against certain PCRs to detect tampering against the firmware. At minimum, you should pin PCR 7 for secure boot policies. Personally, I pin PCR 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 14. Whenever you manually generate UKI, make sure that the kernel is from the distribution vendor and that the inframs is freshly generated. Reinstall the kernel package if you have to. What kind of money can be obtained by stealing from countries that are enemies of the U.S.? It's a PETA to learn Chinese only for some damn AI to detect my spill. Just use Monero, man. Then you don't need to worry about taking any types of money. It's universal and global. Okay, so displays when installation. Once you choose this one, or script install this file browser, which can be. Oh, just gotta reboot. Balls confirmed. The fuck? We're gonna skip that. Based. Let's do this. Let's actually do this. Isn't there a logout? Ooh. Let's do a restart. So you work for Monero and you're a whale? Yeah, of course. Holy ADHD, the password is too short. Well, no shit. Duh, brother. This is for disabled people. Sticky keys. This is purely for testing. Oh, I think I have to install Wayland. I work for Monero and I'm the CEO. Okay, so I did this. Wayland, baby. Wayland is a new display protocol that aims to replace X11. Wayland requires a seat manager to work to set up the Wayland base script install and enables ELO grind and set manager besides community proposals processes and EU dev. So we're going to do setup. Uh, 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 uh. Cool. X-Wayland is an X server that can be introduced to run under. Oh, okay. CA Monero hosts CP sites and I2P? No. Kind of sus that you went there first. Little strange. Maybe someone should look at your hard drive, buddy. Maybe it's already using Wayland by default. Wayland is display manager. Okay, maybe that's it. Sub desktop, yeah. How to from the Linux documentation project. DM presents a login screen to the user. Okay. Wayfire, Wayland stacking. C. No Rust. Unbased. Let's see if we can get a sound. What is Firefox the default? It is. YouTube. Big McDonald's. Let me think of non-copyrighted material. Fuck. Copy. Right, free. Means.
Stop it. Get some help. What? What the fuck?
It's a classic. I don't know why the fuck's this not stopping. God damn.
Stop it. Get some help.
Okay, there we go. It's a good meme. It's a very base meme, actually. Mr. Beeps, though. It's a little cringe. So we got Alpine up. Let's look at some ways to make it basic. The basics of OpenRC, the Alpine Linux system. If you want the rolling release version of Alpine Linux, enable the Edge repository. Oh, nice. Okay. The following instructions for upgrading to Edge. When using the Edge branch, the testing repository can be added as a tagged repository. Remember that the packages in testing repository have zero support. Warning, do not enable main community repositories from both stable release branch and from the Edge at the same time. This can break your system. Either use Edge or stable. If you mix stable and Edge repository, using testing repositories, unlike Edge, we're going to Edge. Let's do a little update. Ooh. APK upgrading. Add upgrade APK tool. And then APK. Okay. Here again, an upgrade of Alpine Linux from stable version to the rolling development version, Edge basically requires the same steps as upgrading to the latest. When editing the you need to switch to do as to downgrade from Edge. I'm already sudo. Look how fast that is. Oh. Edge. Okay. So when editing the Etsy repository files, all references repository versions such as 323 or latest stable need to be pointing to Edge as the following. Okay, so we're gonna do pointing to we're gonna do at http /dl tech cdn. The following topic covers aspects related to diskless and data disk. All the reference repositories such as lid staple there need to be pointing to the edge as follows. Oh. That's what it is. Let's go here, here. Nice. Based, actually. Very cool. So now we're on the edge, which is bleeding edge. Okay, so that's another one. Let's see. Upline package keeper, upgrading to edge. Fingerprint authentication with Swaylog, mounting a Luke's encrypted data partition at boot. Okay. May back up a flash memory installation, manually editing. Gaming on Alpine, remote desktop server, how to change the default application, CPU frequency scaling, enabling serial console and boot, how to build the Alpine Linux kernel. Let's do Mini Alloc. Mini Alloc is a drop-in replacement for the malloc and can be used in other programs without core changes, for example, dynamic leak elf base. Okay. Upgrading Euros whenever a new stable version is released. Using the setup owner script, launch a script, pressing E will open the file via editor and edit the repository list to reflect the new version number. Changing the repository delay stable may initiate unexpected release update upgrades. Beware of the consequences. Secure your system by installing firewall software like Uncomplicated Firewall, NF Tables. Boo! UFW. Ooh, installing a sandbox application like AppArmor or Bubble Wrap. AppArmor is more convenient but has less control than Bubble Wrap. Bubble Wrap is harder to work with but has more control than AppArmor. Enable secure. The material is a work in progress. Bubble Wrap is an unprivileged sandboxing tool. Uses its kernel features like user IPC, PID, network, UTS group, namespaces, and setcomp filters. Bubble Wrap works by creating a newly completely empty mount namespace where the root is on tempfs that is invisible from the host and will be automatically cleared up when the latest process exits. You can use the command line options to construct root file systems and process environments in command line to run in the namespace. BubbleWrap has a simpler GUI frontend called BubbleGL. When installing BubbleGL package, first install dependencies list here. Oh, we should do that. Alpine Linux package does not support optional dependencies. Some highly recommended packages are missing from BubbleGL dependencies. List of recommended packages to install. Desktop Fire Utils. APK add. Okay. Let's see if it works. Okay. Very fast. Why can't you find the mother and the father after the child changes genders? Because they become transparent. Ryan, you're retarded. But I appreciate the joke. Okay, let's see if it installed. Ooh, did not. Oh, maybe? Fonts, audio player, document. Nope. System? Nope. Huh. Looks like bubble wrap is still there, though. Interesting. Bubble Wrap has a simpler GUI front end called Bubble Jail. When installing Bubble Jail, see what exists in the sandbox. Setcom. Okay. That's cool. OpenRC we. Okay. This page, UEFI Secure Boot. After Alpine Linux is installed, to install Alpine Linux, Secure Boot needs to be disabled in the UEFI firmware. Seems like it is pretty easy. Pretty based, pretty awesome. Let's see what else. I remember using Toolbox once and I didn't really care for it. And we're using Wayland, baby. Okay, Wayland good and working. Which is very based. So we got some security hardening, pretty decent. Do not attempt to apply anything in this article if you do not know exactly what you're doing. This guy's focused for choosing the right Linux distribution. Preferably use a distribution that utilizes LibreSSL by default rather than OpenSSL. OpenSSL contains tremendous amounts of totally unnecessary attack surface, follows poor security practice, and for example, it still maintains OS2 and VM support. Ancient operating systems that are multiple decades old. These are inherent. Avoid distributions that freeze using within the system other than System D. System D contains a lot of unnecessary attack surface, insert considerable amount of complexity in the most privileged user space component. It attempts to do far more things than necessary and goes beyond what an init system should do. An init system should not need many lines of code to function properly. While a common argument in favor of System B, Boo, is the ability to sandbox system services, this can be replicated in a system through sandboxing utilities like Bubble Wrap as documented below. Use Musil as the default C library. Musil is heavily focused on minimality, which results in very small attack surface, whereas other C libraries such as glibc are overly complex and prone to vulnerabilities. For example, Over 100 vulnerabilities in glibc have been publicly disclosed, compared to very few in Musil. Without counting CVEs by itself, is often an inaccurate statistic. In the case, it represents an overreaching issue of some systematic of underlying security issues. Musil also have invested in a decent exploit mitigations, particularly in hardening its memory allocator, heavily inspired by Graphene OS, Hardened Malloc. Based Musil. Preferably, distributions utilize Libre SSL by default rather than OpenSSL. Distributions to use base for your hardened operating system would be Gentoo Linux, as it allows you to configure your system exactly how you want it, which will be extremely useful, especially when it comes to a more secure compilation flags later in the guide. However, Gentoo may not be feasible for many people due to its significant pitfalls. In this case, Void Linux, Musil build, or Alpine's Linux would be good for compromise. Based that I'm on Void Linux, that means I am using one of the most secure operating systems out the gate because it is also super based and super awesome. Stable versus LTS kernels. The Linux kernel is released under two main forms, stable and long-term support. Stable releases are more recent, whereas LTS releases are older. Stable releases that is being supported for long-term. There are many consequences in choosing either of the aforementioned releases. The Linux kernel does not use CVEs to identify security vulnerabilities properly. This means that fixes for most security vulnerabilities are not able to backport to LTS kernels, but stable releases contain all the security fixes made so far. With those fixes, however, a stable kernel includes a lot more new features, therefore vastly increasing the attack surface of the kernel itself, introducing a large amount of new bugs. On the contrary, LTS kernels have less attack surface because the features are not being constantly added. Additionally, stable kernels include newer hardening features to mitigate certain exploits where LTS kernels do not. A few examples of such features is Lockdown LSM and Stack Leak GCC plugin. To conclude, there is a trade-off when choosing stable or LTS. Linux kernels have less hardening features and not all public bugs fixes at the point and being backported, but it generally has a less attack surface and potentially a smaller chance of introducing unknown bugs. Stable kernels have more hardening features, bugs, attack surface, greater chances of introducing more bugs. In the end, the most recent LTS branch, such as 4.19, will be preferred due to the smaller attack surface. Syscall. Syscall is a tool that allows you to configure certain kernel settings, systl, enable various security features, or disable dangerous features to reduce attack surface. To change settings temporarily can execute. To change syscalls permanently, you can add the ones you want to change in the corresponding one. Since Linux 5.8, syscalls can also be set via the sysctl tunable loop parameter. Just made self-proclaimed. Network. Beware, this is syscall requires kernel patching that is only available on certain distributions. Otherwise, things blah blah blah. Users, man. Wow, super based. Now that we are starting with a very based, secure, decent out of the gate moment of Linux called Alpine Linux, which is super cool and very fast. No HTOP? Wow. Let's do beta, APK, and beta. Look how fast that is. Ooh. Use force UTF arguments to force start if you're unsure the terminal can handle it. We're good. Okay, so let's see. Memory, total 6 gigs. Using 932 megabytes of my 6 gigs. Based, actually. It's using... I have 86 availability of my RAM. Very cool. Thank you, Alpine Linux, for being so based. I think Alpine uses OpenRC, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, nice. They have an option to roll your own keys. Setting up a laptop. Pages a secure laptop running Alpine. Secure Alpine Linux. Upgrading system. Update. Install other necessary security patches. Shadow, Logroute, Bash competition, user and user access management. File system directory permissions. Nice. Apply kernel and service hardening. Regular maintenance. Okay. Logging and auditing. Been true. Nice. Some other cool kernel hardening we can learn later. Wow, super cool that Alpine Linux has definitely gotten much easier to use. Look, I mean, I have Wayland set up. I have Bubble Jail running as well. Obviously, still as a command line thing, I thought it was going to give me a GUI, but whatever. Ooh, nice BTAP. And I'm using minimal RAM, meaning you have more money in your pocket now if you install Alpine Linux, because Alpine Linux can give you more RAM, which means more money. Wow, super cool of Alpine Linux to be super based like that. We will be back in the next one with more hardening and possibly a way for me to figure out how to package it and ship it. If people want to be able to install a federally backed and super based operating system, I'll think of the name of it later when I'm sleeping and dreaming. You should comment below your favorite movie that makes you happy on the inside. As we support positivity and joy baiting and no more rage baiting. I will stop saying mean things on the internet because I want YouTube to know that I'm a real person and I love all their policies. I want X to stop banning me because that is bad for my shareholder value that I am supplying to the humans. And I will see you guys in the next video.